the most direct predecessor to Corsace Open, which is so it was a international 4v4 tournament. And the first iteration was back in 2015. I wasn't around for this time, so I just look at this historically. But this was one of those tournaments where it's just like, it was the first iteration, so nothing too crazy. But at the same time, from what I understood, there wasn't much going on tournament wise back then. Like back then was like the time of the Ryosuke tournaments, like anti beat, all stars, like that type of stuff. What do you guys remember about that?
Yeah, I think it was like mostly just like three tournaments that were major at that time. It was like OCWT and then like Ryosuke's All-Star and then like the OWC tournament. And like both of those were like Chinese tournaments as well. Like the OWC tournament originally was like a Natsume Rin tournament and OCWT was a profit tournament. And then OHC came. I mean, it wasn't really big or anything. It was basically so like the name OHC itself stands for Osu Histi Championships, and Histi is essentially the person who ran the tournament's name, his store, and essentially what he did was that he just came to me, and then he came to like a few other people like Asahino Momoko, if some of you may know or may not know, another mapper. He was like, "Yo, you want a map pool for this tournament that I'm making?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess, lol." And then while the tournament ran, no one was really doing anything. So for the most part, I was like, whatever, I'll just do some stuff, I guess, for the tournament. And then I ended up becoming like the organizer, I guess, uh, during that tournament as well, which was really, it was like really out of nowhere. But yeah, it was a pretty chill time. There wasn't really much happening. And it just started and finished basically. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, in 2015 was the first time for me when it was my first time actually dipping my toes into kind of like tournaments, like playing tournaments, and uh, kind of adjacent to that, I sort of started to kind of watch how tournaments kind of like unfolded at the same time. So if you were kind of like a fan during 2015 or so, you'd know that in this year, you'd see a lot of kind of like team focused tournaments like anti-beat, all-star, things like that, OCWT. And I think it was also during this time where we started seeing the rise of recurring super teams. I think like within the tournaments that we just mentioned, there were like maybe two or three teams that would show up in these tournaments. You would see like the same name, Ars Crackers, Burst Limit, and like SPD, and they would just come in and they would just dominate the competition entirely. And I think seeing their repeated appearance really helped with storylines and really helped kind of bring fan-made and volunteer tournaments into the forefront of the OSU competition.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's just like even back when this was the biggest argument of like country-based versus international at the time. It's like, oh, you got these like giant super teams that they just come in and they walk around and that's what they do. They shit stomp. So it's funny how we're still discussing that issue even today. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think the finale of 2015, when we kind of just saw in the OWC, the culmination of all of the prior tournaments, like throughout the year itself, kind of culminate into China versus US in I think it was Furioso Maladia for the tiebreak, right? I think that kind of helped bring tournament play or helped us elevate tournament play, and I think our expectations kind of im- went a little bit higher for 2016. I think there was also a bit of a design rebrand in OWC 2015 with the watercolor style from Flight here as well. So I think moving forward from 2015, we saw kind of like a different dynamic in how we saw the production of tournaments.
Yeah, and OHC 2016, it was like a whole different situation than OHC 2015 because in OHC 2015, like the general setup and everything for OHC 2015 was basically like just some random stuff that Histy made in like Photoshop in like a weekend or like an evening or something like that, and then he just uh, put up like the stream as much as he kind of could and streamed whatever he wanted to and whatever. And he was basically also like the only commentator at the time as well, so he just commentated whatever he wanted to whenever. In OSC 2016, there was like a more dedicated staff to do stuff in general, like in for like the map pool selection and everything, for refereeing as well. There were more consistent show ups by the staff themselves, and as well as the players as well, because but in the earlier iterations, you would very commonly see no shows that would occur as well from the teams that were like not as popular or as big as like Arts Crackers or Burst Limit at the time. But as these iterations kept going, you would see more of the teams and more of the staff also show up more consistently as well. And for OHC 2016, Handsome or He now, I guess, took the design role for the tournament, and he basically made the entire design for it as well. In the waiting screen, you would have like a list of the matches that would be coming up, and they would also be like completely animated and stuff. And it was like super cool and stuff that no one has ever seen before, kind of like that. I mean, nowadays it's not that crazy, but back at the day that was kind of wild, I thought. But yeah.
Yeah, this was back like also when we saw tournaments like OSU Dual Cup, where we started to see more community tournaments really try to push production value. And yeah, I think that Marcus's assets, aka was a big step in that. 2016 was also like when I stepped on board. I remember like that time I was just like streaming and commentating because that was my in, I'd say. So um it was a time for sure. It was an exciting time to see like the formation, like everything we were doing back then is standard now, but back then it was just a handful of tournaments experimenting with this high level production stuff. Where you have these crazy scene setups, you have these playlists, you have people downloading gigabytes of stuff to their computers just so you have like a stream. So
Also, I think because of OEC 2016, I think someone like the OSU staff wanted to like interview his store about like the spreadsheet because the spreadsheet was like super high tech or whatever at the time. And that was also something that was also like becoming like more and more complicated or like technical. The spreadsheets themselves becoming more and more intricate and detailed in what they were showing for the tournament and stuff like that. So that was also another thing that was starting to come up in like 2016 from OHC even. So
Yeah, I think the incorporation of spreadsheets and making use of statistics and data, we really saw the increase of, in a way, presenting information to both the participants and the people who just enjoying and watching the watching the streams and the games as well. So I think in a way, 2016 was really kind of where the increase in production value and we were kind of experimenting and seeing what is good for community-led tournaments and what was not really working.
yeah, and we can't forget the legendary OHC 2017 planning meeting at Anime North, where we actually ended up having like I think we were all at that dinner too. It was us, and then we even had Histoire flying in from Singapore, like all this crazy stuff. I think it was at a Boston Pizza, right? Like that's what it was.
yeah, that was other Boston Pizza.
Was that the legendary Sawi dinner that?
Yeah.
No, that came the
Okay.
day after.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't okay. So I guess I wasn't part of this one then.
Oh,
Oh,
oh no. Well, we called it the legendary one because that was where we got the business of like, all right, this is the head staff. Like, here's our like planning meeting. We were trying to treat it like all business like, and then it's like, we have the Nightbot memes for a reason, right? Like, what is this? What would we have Histoire as the crackhead uncle who's been in jail for 20 years? That
yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's basically
Holy,
it.
holy crap!
Oh, I should also point out the one thing that happened in OEC 2016 that was kind of crazy was that the grand finals had to be delayed a week because I had to go to the hospital because I had issues that occurred.
Oh shit, that was back then.
Yeah, that
Holy
was back
crap.
then.
I
Oh,
The
vaguely
legendary.
remember this. I vaguely remember this myself as well.
I
It's in the
remember it
chat.
vividly now that you brought it up. I wish I didn't, honestly. We'll spare the listeners. So
Yeah. I just had to bring it up because that was a very, very key point in history.
oh
Avixis was going through some very dark times.
yeah.
Just leave it at that.
Oh shit, man. But yeah, no, 2017 though, it's like I didn't think because like 2016 we were really getting it all together at production value. 2017 though, I felt like we took it to the next level. Like this was like insane. Like we like doubled off of where we were in 2016. Like we were sponsored by Foxbox. We like had custom merch. Like I still have a tablet cover from 2017 days where like they were printed and given to all the staff and all that stuff. There was some insane stuff going on with the production value in 2017 that I still think that even tournaments today struggle to replicate.
I remember that like the seeing the 2017 website, I was just amazed by the level of detail that you guys and level of attention to detail that you guys put into creating this. And I remember being so excited to kind of just see how it all unfold like during once the event starts.
Yeah, that website was kind of crazy. We had like a whole like there was like a news post section or something in the front page, and then there was also that was actually the I think that was the first time there was like a full website. Well, it wasn't really full because there was still like a bunch of spreadsheets that had to be linked because the website still wasn't done. And at the time, I didn't really know how to code anything at the time, so I couldn't really continue the code that other people that were working on the website couldn't continue on. But yeah, there was that, and then there was also a component that was created on the for the streams where you could see like a scroll of the maps on like the bottom left or something on the streams, and that would be automatically updated by the referees. And I think there hasn't been anything similar to that still by any tournament so far. And I'm trying to bring that back for this iteration. Of course, it's open, but we'll see how development goes for that. But yeah, that was something that was like one of the key things that I thought was like really good for OHC 2017 was like the production of like the development side, and the general infrastructure that we had at the time was pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think like even today, like there are lots of tournaments that like they don't come close to OHC 2017. It was just like night and day in terms of production. Like
Yeah.
it's still better than like a lot of the World Cups even. Like
Yeah.
so.
That
Yeah,
iteration was really good.
yeah, it was definitely very memorable, and it was also just like it was the first one I think where the staffing group wasn't just like a friend group that like they did the roles sort of a thing. I feel like 2015, 2016, like I look at the list and I'm like, oh okay, all right, it's these Canadian OSU DGen group like plus some extras like
Yeah,
and
HVIC and map pooling is like what?
yeah. And then it's like 2017, it's like, okay, you started getting in like some of the more serious players at the time. You got people in like I know Yaza joined the team in OHC 2017.
Yeah.
This one guy was there. So like names that you guys had seen up until recently, this is like where they like were just getting big, and it's like here's the like big tournament to participate in. For the map poolers, there's Noah. That guy was he was kind of the pooler of the times, kind of like where Dada was in 2018, 2019, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
That type of like caliber of player started really becoming a lot more serious. So really it just kind of shows it's like the thing is you still have that core though of those like the OGs of Corsace. They were still around in 2017. Um so it was you still had like the OGs that really wanted like the series itself to work, and then you added in like these hyper competent people on top of that, and it's just like I think that's really what made 2017 like on top of like just the stuff that had been built previously. It was just you really need that consistent team to take things to the next level, in my opinion. So
Yeah. And
To
there
kind
were
of add to that too, right? Sorry, Mixes. I just wanted to add to that too. Like, you really do need continuity to really kind of improve your prior iterations to really kind of exceed prior expectations. So the fact that we had continuity in OHC from 15, 16 all the way to 17, we were able to kind of learn from our lessons from the past and kind of do better as we move forward.
Yeah. So, so we've been talking a lot about OHC, but that wasn't the only thing going on back then. There was a little spin-off tournament. I have fond memories of it. Known as OSU Singaporean Summer Tournament, OSST. I think first iteration was back in 2016, right, Omar?
Yeah, I think it was 2016. I don't know. I don't think I ran the first iteration of it though. But Histy was like, "Yo, you want to run this tournament with me as well?" And I was like, "Sure," because I assumed it was going to be similar to the previous one, where it was just going to be like some chill stuff, and then we just run the tournament, and I guess that's it. And it was also 1v1, so it was also gonna be like way easier to run as well. So I was just like, okay, sure, might as well.
It actually looks like there was in 2015. There was an iteration in 2015 as well, but ran by mostly Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm checking my staff log. It definitely was 2016. I actually remember I played in it. Because it's like back then I was just like I was doing everything but actually back then you were actually able to play and also be a ref on the staff team because the stuff wasn't that serious back then. So I was
Yeah.
doing that. I was streaming and I was casting. That was actually my first Corsace tournament, OSST. So I guess that's like kind of the vibes of the whole like proving ground. Like it even started all the way back then. It's like, oh, you test people on the 1v1 before you get them onto the the big 4v4 international. Yeah, no, I remember playing. I was in that group and I remember that I think I went up against Kaifin and he wiped the floor with me.
Oh my god.
That was wild. But tournament itself, I still have vivid memories because there was a finals matchup. I think it was Tokichi versus Blue Flame before Blue Flame got outed as a cheater, and it's like you essentially had players that had the exact same skill parity, and the thing was like neck and neck. They were trading points. They went to tiebreaker. It was decided by like a I don't know, like 100 combo or something. Because this was back in the V1 days. Like it was some intense stuff.
I remember, I think this was the first time that I started staffing in a tournament as well as in OSST 2016. I remember there was this one day when Vinxus actually reached out to me on Skype, asking if I was able, if I could help with repping matches, and that was kind of like where I got my start in staffing in tournaments. So I guess in a way, like um, I when I repped my first match, I think it was like the Blue Flame Rucker match. I was like really early on. I remember like I didn't not knowing kind of like how the roughing stuff kind of goes, and because there wasn't really a set standard, I kind of just watched like how other people refed to kind of get a sense of what the expectation usually is. So I guess maybe it's different nowadays, but before back then, even back in like 2016, we didn't really have a really set standard or criteria on how refing matches should go as well.
Oh yeah, also if you look at like the threads of those tournaments as well, they were like massively long threads. Mostly
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, mostly because the referees would post the results in the thread itself with like images of the matches and everything. Compared to what happens now, where it's mostly you post the final result and like match results, and then maybe for some tournaments you probably see more detailed stuff in the spreadsheet, which I think we also did for OHC 2017 or 2016. I don't remember. There was like a page we made where it had like a very detailed list of matches, and then you could see like the pick and bans of everyone's, and you could see which maps they picked and banned and which ones they won by what amount or whatever. I think that was in 20, OHC 2017, but I don't remember. But yeah, mostly the referees would post the results of every single match and like the thread with like the images and everything for every single map that was played and stuff.
Yeah, but let's be honest. The other reason why threads were longer back then was because people's shit posted way harder back then. Come
Oh
on,
yeah.
like it was not even close. Like Today we got like the baby tier shit posts, and I think it's because of Twitter actually. Like you really talk the shit on the Twitters and the Discords and whatnot. There's just a lot
Yeah.
more of an off-platform focus compared to back then, where people were actually interacting with the forums. So
Yeah, Twitter and Discord mainly basically killed Threads, I think. And also, I think Osu has kind of been pushing Threads down the visibility in general in the website, I think. Kind of.
yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So I guess OSST being around, like I guess later down the line we really missed OSST being that like companion because we did the rebrand to Open in 2018, and it's just like we mainly were still just focusing on running the 4v4 the but I'd say OSST was kind of that companion tournament because it just felt empty to just have like this whole big organization, and then you only had one tournament a year, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of set up towards being a like that idea of having a 1v1 be your companion to the 4v4 came from it was around even back then, so that was nice. Like, okay, yeah, so let's talk about 2018. I know you don't want to, Omar, but we're talking history, right? So
Yeah, that was an interesting year, I think.
uh,
I think, well, in 2018, um, so Corsace Open's first iteration was 2018. It was essentially Bubbleman came up to me and he was like, "Yo, I got this idea for changing how the matches work," and it was essentially what Corsace Open is kind of now known for, the draft format where you pick the matches, pick the maps first and then you play them after, pick all of them and then play them all of them after, and then you have sets and all of that. So that was formulated around like late 2017, early 2018 for Courses Open 2018, and we started running that tournament. We tried to set up a website for it. That one was finished more than the OHC 2017 website was finished, but it still had issues. Um, this was also the iteration where I think Marcus or Hihi or Handsome, he had to go to military, so he couldn't really do anything. And Histy was also starting to fade away in like around the middle of 2017, and he stopped working on almost anything in 2018. So essentially, it was basically me who was trying to do a lot of the stuff that they kind of left off, and it was a lot. And I think it kind of started falling apart by around the quarterfinals and semifinals time because there was like a lot of matches that had to be played, and there were also like really long matches as well. And I was also basically like the only streamer at the time until Cavo came, and I think Cavo came in 2017 or 2018, one of those two, I think. And so there was like two or so streamers at the time, and there was also a few commentators, and the hype of Corsace Open 2018 at the time was also dying down compared to OHC 2017 because there was also a full rebrand of the name and the full um, refresh of like a reset of like how the entire tournament works in general. So there was also that. Like the grand finals match that occurred for Corsace Open 2018 was I think like lower than OHC 2016's viewership. If I recall correctly, but I'm not sure. But in general, I think Corsair's Open 2018 was like a very rough, was like a super rough run for Corsair's in general. And I think in order to try to combat this, I was thinking of ways to mitigate the issues that were coming up from Corsair's Open 2018. And with trying to think of how to mitigate these issues, there was no Corsair's Open 2019, but yeah.
yeah, I still remember so this is when I actually left as well. So like this is when see I was streaming and commentating like lead in 2017, and then I jumped ship. Cavo, this is when Cavo really took over and started to make that his own role. But linking back to that idea of like how staff continuity is really important, I feel like 2018, like everyone just left. Like, like
Yeah.
Marcus in the military, Histy fading away, like and even like the OGs, like OG crew, most of them were not really focused on OSU. A lot of those were mappers, and 2018 was a very turbulent year in mapping, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I will just say that this is what I call the Vinxis Kirito arc, because you were basically running that entire tournament yourself. Like, there was like, we made the memes or something about like, I think we were talking to the memes about like MCA runs itself, but this one was like, OHC runs itself, except not actually the meme. Yeah, it was a wild time back then.
Yeah, also all the devs were basically dead as well by then, aside for the Poon, but the Poon was also starting to work on Osu itself. So I also had to try to pick up that as well, and that was also where I started learning the code, but that was also like crazy. I had no idea what I was doing for the most part in that area as well. It was crazy.
Was it a really long time for you to kind of like understand how the code works? It's
Uh,
like, was it difficult to kind of like pick it up?
I did like very little for Corsace Open 2018's code, I think. I created like one thing, I think. I don't even remember. Uh, I think it was something about like the map pool, uh, fixing the map pool visual, I think, or something like that. But it was like very little code that I worked on for Courses Open 2018. Um, but yeah,
I guess kind of like during that time, what in I'm just kind of curious, like what were kind of like the biggest learning lessons during the 2018, like in between 2018 and 2020?
the biggest
I know
learning
you jumped the
lessons.
gun, but I kind of want to hear about this.
Uh, it's kind of like a blur to me now because there's a lot of stuff um that I've learned in like the later iterations as well that basically kind of like overshadow the stuff that I learned from Corsair's Open 2018. But um, there was a lot of there was a lack of staff, so I feel like the biggest thing was trying to make sure that there was enough staff that were like actually active and engaged, instead of not being like not like kind of there, and also being a very small amount, and also not really doing the stuff that they signed up for. That's still kind of an issue sometimes now, but it's nowhere near as bad as what it was like in Koizo in 2018, especially with everyone leaving at the time. And then there was also the map pooling part, where I feel like that's where the custom mapping idea came from for me. In Koizo in 2018, there was a lot of turbulence in how the map pooling was happening. There was a lot of fights for some reason over how the map pool was going to be set up and what maps were going to be in there and everything, to the point where everyone in the map pooling burnt out completely by grand finals. And I kind of brought new people in to help with that. And
Oh my
they,
God.
yeah, they kind of, well, so Captain, I think, made a map and gave it to me for one of the later rounds in Quasars Open 2018. I think it was like semifinals or finals. And then RLC made a custom map for grand finals, not because it was epic hype, which we tried to do for OHC 2017, and it was like a really bad map, but I mean, whatever. But he made that map because we didn't really have any ideas for what the grand finals tiebreaker would be. So, yeah. We had to like reset the map pooling team kind of by the end of the Quasar 2018 tournament. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that was going on at that time.
Yeah, very yeah, like honestly, like now we really need to see the next couple episodes of this, because it's like that, like honestly, that, like everything you just described, for most hosts, basically almost everyone, they would have just quit at that point. Like, there is like that amount of all that, basically everything just collapsing on you, and you're just being left on your own. Like, that is usually like the ender, the tournament series ender. But obviously we're still here to this day, so yeah, the Kirito arc did pay off, I guess. I
Yeah,
guess that's
kind of.
one way to say it. This is also like K2's first year doing design too, right? Because Marcus was out of the way, so it was like the beginning for both Cavo and K2, who are both like integral part of the staff today.
It was definitely the beginning for Cavo. K2 came around the end of Courses Open, so any designs that he made, I couldn't actually implement for the website
Oh.
because he made a whole new map pool page for the website for Corsace Open, and it never saw the light of day even today.
Oh
I still
no.
didn't even implement it, but I mean, it's okay because this year there's gonna be a brand new website, lol.
Oh shit.
I remember being really happy for K2 when he told me that he uh, started working on Corsace because I think separately, I knew kind of like privately how much work that Vinxis was putting into Corsace, and because Marcus had to go into the military and Hesti moving away from Osu, he kind of had nobody, no real help with regards to design or trying on how to like get the ball rolling for Corsace. And I remember I was in Singapore just this past April, actually spending a day with Hesti, and he was telling me that I mean prior to all this, that Vinxis and him had actually planned and worked out the skeleton of how Corsace would actually work, but and then Hesti kind of just like faded away after.
Yeah, that was a moment. It was tough, but yeah, like with Handsome and History going away, it was Cavill and K2 basically filled in like their spots and then even more. Like Cavill, he basically kind of did like what Histy was doing, except he's doing like way more now. Like he's streaming like every single match now, and he's also like setting up intricate Steam Deck stuff for the back end, and also helping with the Corsace ratings as well, which is kind of epic, and also the testing as well. And then
And
K2,
historically has done the sheeting backend, by the way. Can't
oh
forget
my,
that.
yeah. And then K2 also, he's also been like creating the designs for like everything now. So like, I guess for Full Circle, he also got some help from Ryzen to create some of the designs for Full Circle and stuff like that. But when you see like the MCA stream or like the Corsair's closed stream, that's like 90% K2 for the most part. It's crazy the amount of design stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, so basically 2018 was when you started getting the real psychos on board, right? Like you had your fucking like your Kirito arc, and then that attracted other people that wanted their fucking Kirito arcs, and basically like you have SAO like as a tournament. I don't know. Like it's kind of cringe to say that, but it's also kind of funny.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So I want to obviously I want to talk about my journey, but my journey did not really start with these like earlier iterations of it. Like I was around, but it's we have entirely new episodes for that, so stay tuned for that in the future. I think overall then we are mostly covered, right? Anything you guys want to add before we close it off?
Uh, no, I think we covered basically the majority of it. I think OHC 2017 being like basically the highlight of the old previous iterations of Corsace, being like yeah, OHC 2017 being the best one out of the four, and then Corsace Open 2018, kind of essentially like resetting the entire ecosystem for Corsace, and then later on stuff happening because of that. Yeah, I think we basically covered
Yeah, I think we
everything.
covered basically everything.
Awesome. Yeah. I wish we had some more assets, but one thing that we've definitely done better compared to then is now we keep better records. Like a lot of the assets from these earlier iterations are kind of lost to time. They were on websites, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
sadly, not too much eye candy from that era, but we do better about that now. So. All right. Well, anyways, yeah. So, Geralda, Vinxis, thanks for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. It's afternoon for me. It's night for basically everyone else. But yeah, I think we'll be signing off. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you, everyone.